I know you've heard the saying, cash is king. But guess what? If you're keeping over this amount in your bank account, you are actively making a big mistake that is keeping you from building real wealth. I know this sounds completely crazy because it's the complete opposite of what my Asian parents told me my entire life. It makes sense because when they came to this country with very little, saving money felt like the ultimate security blanket. Seeing a big number in your savings account felt responsible and reassuring. But the truth is, beneath that mountain of idle cash is a deep seated scarcity mindset. And that's what's keeping you stuck. If your parents are like my parents, they always stressed saving money, but they actually never said how much, which begs the crucial question: how much cash should we really have on hand? We rarely talk about intentional cash management. So today I'm going to share with you the 4 main reasons why hoarding cash is actually sabotaging your financial future and what you can be doing instead. So before we get into it, let's talk about how much cash should you actually have in your bank account. We've all heard the common advice: your emergency fund should be 3 to 6 months of your actual monthly living expenses. Think of this as the bare minimum required to survive: rent, groceries, core debt payments, etc. So let's just take a look at this example calculation. Rent or mortgage is $2,500 a month, groceries $500 a month, car payment $400 a month, health insurance $250 a month, and student loan payment $300 a month. That brings our total monthly expenses to $3,950. So if you need 3 months of coverage, your emergency fund should be $11,850. And if you go for the safer 6 months, it's $23,700. This will differ depending on your situation, right? Given the times and the layoffs, depending on what industry you work in and whether or not you have other income streams, you may want to get a little conservative and up your emergency fund. However, anything above the 6 to 9 months is excess, and you should put that cash to work instead. The first financial trap of too much cash is that it completely distorts your budget and encourages overspending. When you see $20,000 sitting in your checking account and your true monthly expenses are only about $4,000, your brain sees that giant number and says, "Oh wow, I have a cushion." So you start to feel financially invincible. Your brain starts to say things like, "Oh, I can afford that," when you really can't. So just because you have the cash sitting there doesn't necessarily mean you can afford that bag. If you're guilty of saying these things, hit that like and subscribe button so I know I'm not alone. This can be especially dangerous when you run your entire life from one lump sum. Your emergency fund, your down payment, your savings, your fund money, they're all together. That high balance tricks you into dipping into reserves that aren't actually spendable. For many of us raised with that save, save, save mentality, a large account balance serves as our emotional safety blanket. It makes us feel safe, but it's a false sense of security if inflation is quietly stealing its value every day. So I want you to think of your finances like a business would. When revenue comes in, that money is immediately given a job, whether that's to invest in new equipment, cover payroll, or purchase inventory. Every dollar has a purpose and a separate account or budget for that. The easy intentional fix is to automate your personal money into these purpose-driven buckets. You should never run your life from one account. Set up a separate high-yield savings account for your emergency fund and another for your other short-term goals. If you don't see the money in your everyday checking account, you won't spend it. You know the saying: out of sight, out of mind. Trap number 2, the inflation tax. Unfortunately, that mountain of cash in your account is actively losing value to inflation every single day. If your cash is just sitting in a traditional savings account earning a near zero interest rate and inflation is running at 3%, you are losing purchasing power every single year. I can't believe I've reached that age where I start my sentences with, when I was a kid, or, when I was a teenager. But it's true. I was just telling my daughter how when I first started driving, my mom would give me $20 to fill up gas and I would still have some left over. Now I find myself filling up once a week when I'm at half tank just so it doesn't hurt as much. So here's the truth. Your $10,000 that you have saved up and had sitting in your bank account is not the same $10,000 it once was. Due to rising costs and inflation, that same amount today can buy much less of the gas, groceries, and services you need. So the solution is you don't have to be a stock market genius, but your cash must be doing something at a minimum. Any cash that is supposed to be liquid, such as your emergency fund or a 1 to 5 year savings goal, should be put into a high yield savings account, which you can usually find them at around 3 to 4%. Trap number 3, opportunity costs. The third trap is the one that really kills your ascent to true wealth, the opportunity cost. Your cash isn't just sitting there, it's costing you the growth it could have earned. When I started working, I only invested the bare minimum in my 401k because I was scared. Investing felt uncertain, and as a former perfectionist, there was just never a right time. Had I just started investing something small, like $50 a week, I could be looking at around $86,000 right now and only have contributed around half of that. That's the power of compounding that I missed out on. I cry about it till this day. I wish I had invested more when I was younger. I once coached a woman near retirement age who had literally kept her entire life savings under her mattress. My heart broke for her. She thought she was creating this huge nest egg, but without investing it, it was losing value. Her fear of losing money cost her the guaranteed power of compounding. It feels counterintuitive, but being truly financially smart means you have relatively little idle cash because it's all strategically deployed. Your net worth is what matters, not your checking account balance. The market doesn't wait for you, and time is the only thing money can't buy back. If fear is the barrier, take the decision out of your hands. Start small. Automate a portion of every paycheck into a low-cost index fund. The best time to start was, yes, 20 years ago. But the second best time is today. Trap number 4, false security and complacency. When you constantly see a big, comfortable amount in your account, it gives you this false sense of security that ultimately leads to complacency. Hear me out. When you see that big static amount, your brain thinks, oh, I don't need any more money. I'm good. Whether conscious or not, you may sabotage or avoid new ways to earn money, like pursuing a side hustle, negotiating a raise, or taking on a high-value project. Your brain has trained itself to be lazy because the perceived need for growth is gone. You can combat this by giving every dollar an intentional purpose, whether that's to sit in a high-yield savings account, your Roth IRA, or your next big goal fund, such as wedding, a house, travel. As you see your purpose-driven investments grow, you'll feel motivated to keep this upward trend. This transforms your relationship with money from passive hoarding to active planning and growth. So, what is the exact right amount of cash you should be keeping? The answer is simple and intentional. Your emergency fund calculation plus any short-term savings goals under 5 years. Everything else should be put to work or used for future wealth generation. Calculate your true emergency number today, move it to a high-yield account, and automate your investments. And if you want to grow your wealth and avoid the mistakes I made, watch this next video where I discuss how your frugal habits are actually sabotaging your wealth building.